Hello friends, I am Chevee and this is Beer and Bread, two of my favorite things. Okay, two of my favorite things, Scott Almes and Capstone games. If you don't know who Scott Almes is, he is a prolific game designer that is well known for packing massive gameplay into minuscule packages. Some people would say that he produces epic games at tiny scale. And then Capstone. Capstone Games is one of my favorite publishers. They always take heart to curate a very good catalog of games and put a little touch of extra production value into all of their products. Now, this was originally published by Deep Print Games in Germany, and Capstone is just a North American partner, so they brought it over. And as soon as I saw it at their booth, Gen Con last year, I was all in. I have to have this game. And so, full disclosure, I did not pay for this game. I am friends with Capstone, and I asked for it, and they gave it to me. They gave it to me under no... That was 8 months ago, by the way. They gave it to me under no There's no agreement here. I'm doing this because I like the game. But I am biased, so there you go. What is Beer and Bread? Well, it's a two-player Euro hand management, drafting, resource management. Let's just read the box. This multi-use card game will draw you in with its beautiful art and engaging theme. Its clever structure of alternating rounds will enchant you as it puts a fascinating twist on player interaction, card drafting, and resource management. Okay, this is a two-player game, which means there has to be some sort of special twist to make it interesting with all of those various components. That is, of course, going to be multi-use cards. These cards can all be played one of three ways. You can play them for resources, you can play them to make beer or bread, and you can play them for a bonus power special thing. Yeah. The game's going to play over 6 rounds. 3 of those rounds are fruitful years, and 3 of those rounds are dry years, which is going to influence the number of goods that you have available to you, but it's also going to influence the cards, because during fruitful years, we draft. You're going to get dealt a handful of cards. Some of them are going to be beer. Some of them are going to be bread. You're going to play a card, pass your hand, play, pass, play. Keep going until all 5 cards are played. So that's how the fruitful years happen. In the dry years, once we've played all 5 of these cards, they're going to be in various places. If you played the card for resources, it's going to go in this little stack, and you're going to gather resources. The cool part about that is, if you play a card that has a resource symbol on it that you've already played, you get all of those. So if I play this right now, I would get 3 wheat or barley or whatever it is. Of course we don't know. And put it in my little barn. I can only hold 9 resources, so that's the resource management part of the game. And if I'm going to make beer or bread, I need to have a certain collection of resources in order to be able to put that into my bakery or my brewery. I should also mention that if you take more resources than you can hold in your barn, you have to offer the extras to your opponent, and they can take those for free. Free, baby. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing here is this game is called Beer and Bread, not beer and or bread. So you have to do both, because at the end of the game, you tally up your scores for beer and bread independently, and your lowest is your score. Got to do both. Can't dork around. So the neat part is, so you're going to play these cards. Say I play that for resource. Maybe I want to play this guy because it says I have an additional storage unit, which means my barn gets expanded. So that would go here. These little symbols tell you which section of the board it goes in, whether it's for money or for cleanup or for baking and brewing. Storage, this is for, I don't know what they're called. So I'm going to play those, and then maybe at the end of this round, somehow I manage to bake this bread. So it goes into my bakery, and all this is gone. We hit the end of the round, okay? By the way, at the start of each round, there's a certain number of these goods. So in a fruitful year, you're going to get this green number. In a dry year, you get this number. And that's all that's available for the round for both players. So you can't You got to really think about that when you're deciding what to bake or brew. At the end of the fruitful season, you're going to pick up the cards that you played as resources. You're going to get new cards from the deck until you have 5 in hand. And then you're going to put out 3 cards that are now kind of available for either player. And for the dry years, we don't pass hands. So in a dry year, there's only going to be 5 of these guys. There's going to be 4 of these guys. You get it, right? Do we need to do this? We're going to do this. You get it. You're going to have a small collection. Water, there's always full water, which you obviously store in your barn. Anyway, so then you get to play these cards on the following round. That's an important point because say I'm working towards, I'm going to have a whole lot of hops production. For instance, I took this card at my first round that says at the end of the seeding phase for each year, gain a hops. So we just seeded for a dry year, I'm going to get a hops. So I know that I'm going to have hops available to me pretty often, right? And so maybe there's a brew or maybe even a bread that takes hops that I want, and I don't want my opponent to have this. So in that first round, I could have played this to get a hops and a wheat. And then this card becomes available to me again in the next round, and my opponent can't steal it from me in the draft. That's important. That's super important, actually. So the cards that you're going to play for resources, hopefully they're going to be resources that you want, but sometimes more importantly is that the special ability or the beer or the bread is the thing you really want in the following round. So you spend a fruitful year building up your stores, and then in the following round you're able to play that big 9-pointer, which, by the way, this beer is worth 9 points. It's a pretty big score. Some of these are worth as low as 4, I think. And then there's obviously cards that impact those scores. There's cards that will give bonuses for, breads that score 6 or 7, right? There'll be cards that score, here you go. At the end of the game, for each of your sold cards, which are worth 6 or 7 coins, gain 1 extra coin for its type of good. So you can gain bonuses for whichever, which helps elevate your total score. Those are important too. And that is essentially the game. You're going to take alternating years, either drafting or not drafting, playing your cards one of 3 ways, and gaining bonuses and or just crushing by being the best baker or brewer in your little village. And it's fantastic. It plays super fast. The box says 30 to 45 minutes. That's accurate. That's I would say most of our games come in closer to 30 minutes than 45 minutes. It's beautiful, obviously. It has some great curb appeal for people walking by. They're like, what is that? This beer and bread, Scott Almes. And they go, oh, I know that guy. He's epic. And I go, yeah. If you're into Euros, if you're into hand management and particularly 2-player drafting, this is your jam. And this is definitely something that I find super enjoyable. I like Euro games. I don't necessarily love huge 4-hour-long Euro games. This feels like one of those, but it's a very compact and manageable thing. I mean, that is the Scott Almes way, right? Like, let's take this huge idea and condense it to a 30, 45-minute game. That's what this is. And it does it beautifully. Every game is variable and fun because of the multi-use cards, because of what comes out here. I forgot to mention these. In the dry year, you have an option of trading a card in your hand for one of these. So if something comes up here that's really good for me, I could trade and pick that card up for my own personal use and prevent you from having it. Again, obviously, like a traditional rummy game or something, I got to be careful about what I put down there, because based on your resources, maybe I'm going to give you something that you need. I want to make sure that I'm not feeding you, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes you're trying to take care of your own score is more important than stopping your opponent. So there is a little bit of a draft mechanic in the dry years, but it's not as big as the other two. Fantastic little game. Can't recommend it enough. And it's staying on my 2-player shelf for the time being. I don't know. That is Beer and Bread from designer Scott Almes, publisher Capstone Games. Check it out. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please Give me a thumb and leave a comment and all that stuff. If you like what I'm doing here, subscribe. That'd be awesome. It really helps me out. See you on the next one.